You're looking for a storage solution that won't turn your office or studio into a constant headache, something reliable enough to sit in the corner for years, easy enough to manage day-to-day, and worth the price you're paying. The fear with a 12-bay all-SSD NAS is that you might end up with a flashy box that looks impressive on paper but ends up demanding more tinkering than you have time for. That's why I spent a few days wiring a mock-up, pulling the cables, and watching how the system behaved under real workloads before I hit record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Asustor Flashstor 12 Pro isn't trying to be a home media hub or a budget backup box. It's positioned for teams that need fast, simultaneous access to large datasets. Think video editors, graphic designers, or a small VFX studio that can't afford a full-blown SAN. The 12M.2 NVMe slots give you the ability to stack terabytes of SSD capacity while keeping the footprint the size of a typical desktop tower. The included Expanstor 4AS5004U expansion unit adds 4 more bays, and the 2 units lock together with a USB-C 10 gigabits per second link that feels more like a high-speed bridge than a clunky add-on. If you're the kind of person who likes to see data move in real time, the 10 gigabit Ethernet port is the first thing you'll notice. In my tests, moving a 200 GB project folder from the NAS to a workstation with a matching 10 GB NIC took just under 3 minutes, which is a noticeable jump from the 5-10-minute windows you see on a 2.5 GB box. That speed translates directly into less idle time for editors who can start rendering while the next clip is already on the drive. The downside: you need a compatible network switch or a direct attach cable to unlock that speed, so it's not a plug-and-play upgrade for everyone. The heart of the machine is a quad-core Intel Celeron N5105 built on a 10nm process, paired with 4 GB of DDR4 2933 RAM. It's not a Xeon, but it's more than enough for the multitasking scenarios Asustor advertises. Running multiple simultaneous transcoding jobs in Plex while a couple of users were browsing the shared drive didn't cause any noticeable lag. That said, the 4 GB of RAM is soldered, so you can't simply throw a bigger stick in to future-proof the unit. If you anticipate heavy virtualization or want to run more than a few Docker containers, you might feel the memory sealing sooner rather than later. One of the hidden trade-offs shows up when you think about drive replacement. Because the drives are M.2 NVMe, you get a clean, cable-free front panel, but you also lose the hot swap convenience of traditional 2.5-inch bays. Swapping a drive means opening the chassis, unscrewing the mounting bracket, and carefully handling a tiny card that can be easy to lose in a busy studio. For a small team that rotates drives weekly, that extra step can feel like a nuisance compared to a SATA-based NAS where you just pull the tray out. On the upside, the flash-forward design does mean you avoid the heat and vibration issues that often plague dense SATA arrays. The unit runs quietly, and the SSDs stay cool thanks to the built-in heatsinks and a modest fan that only kicks in under sustained load. I left it on for a full 8-hour editing session, and the ambient temperature in the room only rose a couple of degrees. That quiet operation is a genuine plus for anyone who keeps the NAS in a shared office or a home studio where constant fan whine would be distracting. The HDMI 2.0B port and SPDIF output are curiosities you don't see on most NAS devices. Asustor markets this as a media server on the shelf feature, and it works if you want to hook the box directly to a TV or a sound system. I tried playing a 4K video straight from the NAS to a 4K TV using the HDMI port, and the playback was smooth, thanks to the NVMe speeds. It's a nice backup plan if your network is congested, but in most professional environments you'll still route the stream over Ethernet to a dedicated media player. Who should buy the Flashstor 12 Pro? If you're a creative professional who needs terabytes of high-speed storage, already has a 10 GB infrastructure, and values the compactness of an all-SSD rack, this NAS hits the sweet spot. The bundled expansion unit makes sense if you anticipate growth beyond the 12 drives, and the dual USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports give you fast external backup options without buying a separate docking station. On the other hand, if you're a home user who only backs up photos and documents, the price per gigabyte will feel steep, and a simpler, SATA-based NAS would give you more bang for your buck. A practical weakness that shows up after a few months is firmware updates. Asustor's OS, ADM, is feature-rich, but the update process can be a bit clunky, especially when the system is handling active transfers. I had to schedule a maintenance window to apply.